Okay, so let's jump right into this. We're diving into what is, I mean, just a massive political firestorm.
A huge one. Yeah.
We're starting right in the aftermath of the simultaneous assassinations of two incredibly prominent figures in American power.
And we're not talking about minor players here. This
No.
is Senator Roger Simpson and the nation's intelligence chief, Carter Gray, both taken out.
At the same time, the sources we have for this are, well, they're absolutely gripping. We're getting a ground-level view of this massive manhunt that just spirals completely out of control.
It really does. It spirals into this deep excavation of, I guess you'd call it, institutional rot.
Yeah.
So our mission today for you is to follow the ghost at the center of all this legendary figure, Oliver Stone.
A man who's really just a phantom from the intelligence world. His real name, his former life, was John Carr.
Exactly. And, we start out thinking we're just tracking a world-class fugitive, but it becomes clear very, very quickly that his escape is almost secondary to the why.
The motive.
The motive. His choice of targets, it's all rooted in decades of betrayal, high-level systemic betrayal. So we're not just tracking a killer. We're peeling back the layers on this huge conspiracy.
A conspiracy that involves a hidden drug ring, of all things.
A drug ring, a supermax prison in Appalachia, and secrets that go, well, they go all the way to the Oval Office.
And the initial crime scene evidence, it just screams expertise. I mean, it's the highest possible level of skill. Let's look at the signatures.
Okay, so Carter Gray. He's taken out with a single rifle shot.
To
the head. From a distance that's, it's almost unbelievable, somewhere between 1,000 and 1,500 yards away.
And it was dark. It was drizzling.
The lead investigator on the case, a man named Joe Knox, he actually called it a remarkable shot. So right away, they know they're dealing with a pro, someone at the absolute pinnacle of their trade.
But the murder of Senator Simpson,
Yeah.
that was different, just as precise, but it had this deeply personal, almost chilling stamp on it.
It really did. So Simpson was shot in the chest, but the bullet specifically went through a photograph, a snapshot of a woman that he had taped to the inside of his newspaper.
And it went right through her head in the photo.
It's an unmistakable signature. It's so aggressive. It tells you not just about the skill of the killer, but about this intense, focused, decades-long rage, vengeance.
Now, these weren't political hits in the normal sense.
No, not at all. These were surgical strikes. They were designed to settle a very, very old score.
Which brings us to the big question, the one we really have to answer for you in this deep dive. Who is Oliver Stone?
Mm-hmm.
And why would this master assassin risk absolutely everything, his life, his freedom, his anonymity, for these two specific men?
So the very first part of this whole story is it's really a masterclass in evasion, in tradecraft.
Right after the murders, Stone's escape plan is just immediate and drastic. It shows you everything you need to know about his training.
He dives off a 30-foot cliff into the Chesapeake Bay, which at the time is being battered by a thunderstorm. In the dark.
It's a nearly suicidal move, but it's designed to do one thing perfectly: eliminate any immediate trace.
And he is absolutely meticulous about it. He strips off all his clothes, the wetsuit, weighs them down.
And he throws everything, including his sniper rifle, which the sources say is decades old, and the scope, into the deepest part of the bay.
It's like he's physically and violently disconnecting from his past. It's the act of a man, hanging up his tools for good, just hoping he lives long enough to disappear.
His initial survival techniques are just a textbook. This is the 666 Division training from the CIA.
Absolutely. He surfaces, he puts together a disguise, and he just walks right through this massive FBI dragnet that's sweeping the area.
And his cover is just genius in its simplicity. He becomes this low-status, completely invisible person. Hey man, a confused, grunting laborer.
But right, it was an exaggerated bum leg. He's working for some guy named Leroy, chopping firewood.
And it works. It works perfectly. The FBI agents who stop him, they see this visible scar on his kneecap, which you make sure they see, and they just write him off. They call him unemployable and not too much upstairs.
He becomes invisible because he's embodying a type of person that powerful people, like FBI agents, refuse to really look at. It's the ultimate professional cover.
But before he vanishes completely, we get this really profound glimpse into who he is. The two sides of him.
The ruthless assassin versus
the man with this deep, fierce sense of loyalty. It's such a sharp contrast to his profession. He actually hitchhikes back to D.C., risking everything for 2 stops.
And those stops are all about duty and grief.
The first one is his old home at Mount Zion Cemetery. The little cottage where he lived with his friends.
The Camel Club.
The Camel Club.
Yeah, for those who might not be familiar, the Camel Club is this really tight-knit group, almost a found family of outsiders who have a knack for uncovering conspiracies.
There's only real family left.
Yeah.
And he leaves them a letter.
It's a carefully worded letter, right? It's not a confession. It's more of a cryptic message, just to make sure they know his actions were deliberate and that, they shouldn't think less of him. It's an act of protection.
And the second stop,
Mm.
this one is, I think, maybe the most emotional. He visits the grave of Milton Farb.
The deceased member of the Camel Club. Milton died during a shootout at the Capitol Visitor Center, and Stone blames himself for it completely. He sees it as this ultimate failure to protect his friends.
So he goes to the grave, carefully cuts out a piece of the turf, and he buries a box there.
A very specific box. And then he restores the gravesite so it looks completely untouched. That box is his leverage. It's the final piece of his mission. It's the truth he needs to deliver.
Too dangerous to carry, but way too vital to just destroy.
Exactly.
So while Stone is doing all this, the official investigation is kicking into high gear. And this is where we meet Joe Knox.
The man tasked with hunting Stone. And Knox is, he's exceptionally good at his job, highly mobile, very capable investigator.
He's got a State Department cover, officially, to protect his family. But his real boss is Macklin Hayes.
And Macklin Hayes is a former 3-star general, now very deep in the intelligence world. And he's the one who sets the stakes. He is chillingly clear about who they're hunting.
He confirms that John Carr Oliver Stone is alive. He calls him probably the best assassin this country has ever produced.
But listen to what he demands. He tells Knox, we need him alive. We need to know what he has before the sword falls.
That phrase, before the sword falls, it tells you everything. It implies the danger isn't the assassinations. Those are already done. The danger is the information Stone has.
Hayes and his whole cabal are way more concerned with controlling the narrative and burying the truth than they are with getting justice for Gray or Simpson.
So the hunt is on. And Knox, through his own brilliant work and some help from contacts like a guy named Harry Finn, he starts to uncover Stone's devastating history. The why.
And this is where the betrayal begins. It turns out John Carr was this highly decorated Vietnam War soldier, a true patriot.
He was even recommended for the Medal of Honor.
Recommended for the Medal of Honor, but the recommendation was stalled. Inexplicably stalled. And the man who stalled it was none other than Macklin Hayes.
Who used it as leverage.
He used it as leverage to control Carr. After Vietnam, Carr gets recruited into the CIA's Black Ops Group, the 666 Division.
Their premier assassination.
Their premier unit. And for a long time, Stone was their best guy. He was their golden boy, taking out high-value targets all over the world.
But the work started to, hollow him out. Our sources say he hit a breaking point. He said he couldn't, and I'm quoting here, fly halfway around the world, pop someone in the brain, and come home and hold my little girl and kiss my wife. I couldn't do it anymore.
So he tried to resign. He tried to leave the agency, and the CIA turned on him with everything they had.
The consequences were just swift and devastating. Senator Simpson, who was deep in the intelligence apparatus back then, later admitted he ordered the hit on Carr and his family to silence him.
Stone's wife, Claire, was killed. Their daughter, Elizabeth, just disappeared, snatched into the system.
And this is where the cover-up becomes so critical. To make sure Carr was neutralized for good, they planted an empty coffin for him at Arlington National Cemetery. They declared John Carr dead.
And Carter Gray, the other man Stone just killed, was instrumental in that. He's the one who ordered that empty coffin to be dug up and moved later, just to make the cover story even stronger. They maintained that lie for decades.
So if you just connect the dots, the two men Stone killed were directly responsible for destroying his life. Simpson ordered the hit, Gray executed the cover-up.
These weren't just professional jobs. This was decades-delayed vengeance. It was personal.
Which sets up this huge tension for you as the listener. Stone is obviously acting outside the law, but he's only doing it because the very institutions designed to uphold the law are the ones that destroyed his life in the first place.
So while Stone is making this slow, careful journey south, his friends, the Camel Club, are reacting back in D.C.
And they are immediately under intense federal surveillance. But they're experts in this stuff. They're not naive. They know what's happening.
Right. Their first fear is a strategic one. They suspect they're being used as bait, as leverage to try and draw Stone out of hiding.
Which is a completely justified fear, especially since they know Macklin Hayes is pulling the strings.
And Hayes isn't after justice. He's after silence. So Alex Ford, who's still in the Secret Service, he has to be careful, but he provides these internal warnings.
And the rest of the group, Annabelle, Reuben, and Caleb, they decide they have to act. They recognize the threat is existential.
Let's just pause on the dynamic here because it's so important. Reuben is the wealthy, detail-obsessed analyst.
Caleb is the brilliant, shy librarian. He's the one who handles codes and historical research.
And Annabelle is the former spy catcher. She's the field expert with the real operational instincts. They're like Stone's own personal counterintelligence team.
And they decide they have to find him first, before Hayes's people do.
This whole counter mission, though, is complicated by one major factor. Joe Knox is really, really good at his job.
He is ruthless in his efficiency. He traces Stone's route south so quickly. He knows Stone wouldn't use planes or busy train stations, so he focuses on the older, less secure infrastructure.
Like the rail system, specifically the Amtrak Crescent train.
And he finds the conductor who remembers Stone. But not because of his face. His appearance was already changing with the beard and the hat.
No, the conductor remembers him because Stone had intervened when 3 men were harassing a woman on the train. And, as the conductor put it, Stone laid out 3 guys.
And that's the tell. That's the crucial detail. It's his innate sense of honor, the core of John Carr that's still in there, that leaves the trace.
Exactly. The conductor remembers the fight and is able to identify the small, remote town where Stone and this young man he was with, Danny Riker, got off the train.
The trail is narrowing. Fast. But this is also the point where Knox starts to realize the danger isn't just to Stone, it's to him too.
He's starting to see that his boss, Macklin Hayes, is playing this incredibly manipulative and dangerous game.
Hayes even admits it to him. He admits planting false news stories about airports and stations being covered, all designed to make Stone feel trapped.
To force him into making a mistake out of desperation.
And Knox realizes that Hayes sees this entire investigation as just a means to an end. The ultimate betrayal here is that if Knox actually succeeds, if he finds Carr, he himself might become a sacrifice.
A loose end to be tied up. Hayes has a history of leaving his people behind. He's known for never, ever losing.
So it puts Knox, this brilliant tracker, in a really profound moral dilemma. He's hunting a man who's guilty of murder, no question, but the man he works for, Hayes, is arguably guilty of far worse. War crimes, cover-ups.
So what does he do? Our sources show that Knox starts to run a quiet, parallel investigation.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. He keeps hunting Stone, but he also starts building a case against Hayes. He starts using his federal resources not just to track Carr, but to track Hayes's movements. He realizes the real threat to national security isn't Stone.
It's the untouchable man running the show.
Exactly. Meanwhile, the Camel Club is fully mobilized. They know what they're doing is illegal. Alex Ford warns them they're looking at a big chunk of federal prison time if they get caught helping a fugitive.
But they don't care. They choose loyalty over self-preservation.
They know Stone has risked everything for them in the past. So Annabelle, Caleb, and Reuben, they set out to follow the fox. That's Knox, hoping that his trail will lead them to Stone first.
So you have this incredible high-stakes chase. Loyalty on one side, ruthless betrayal on the other, and it's all heading deep into Appalachia. To a little town called Devine, Virginia. So Stone arrives in Devine, Virginia, and he immediately adopts his new long-term cover, Ben Thomas.
And he gets a job as a laborer at a farm called a Midsummer's Farm, which is owned by Abby Riker.
The name of the farm is a great little detail. It's a Shakespearean reference, which sort of hints at this strange, dreamlike conspiracy where nothing is what it seems.
And Devine itself is an interesting place. It's surprisingly prosperous. It stands in total contrast to all the other depressed Appalachian towns around it.
And it's located right next to this massive supermax prison known as Dead Rock. The official name is Blue Spruce.
So his employer, Abby Riker, she seems pretty wealthy. Apparently she won a big wrongful death lawsuit against the coal company that killed her husband, Sam. But this localized prosperity, it's a red flag for Stone.
Oh, absolutely. He's an operator. He knows this isn't normal. He immediately suspects it's masking something sinister.
And the first major crack in that facade, the thing that pulls him into this local conspiracy, is when he finds a dying miner named Willie Coombs.
Willie is the friend of Danny Riker, the young man Stone got off the train with. Willie has this massive seizure, and Stone's field training just kicks in.
This scene is it's unbelievable. It shows you his capacity for improvisation. This man is dying, and Stone builds a defibrillator on the spot.
Out of what?
Out of what's there. Battery cables, a spark plug wire, and a nail that he jams into the distributor cap of a truck. He uses duct tape to hold it all together to generate a current and restart Willie's heart.
It's just pure, raw genius.
It is. But in the act of saving his life, he uncovers this medical mystery that proves the entire town is rotten to the core.
Right. Willie's symptoms, specifically his pinpoint pupils, they suggest an opioid overdose, a depressant.
But Willie insists he was using crack, which is a stimulant.
So Stone realizes one of two things is happening. Either Willie has no idea what drugs he's actually taking, or, and this is far more likely, Willie was poisoned. He was given an opioid-class drug disguised as something else.
And that inconsistency is the pivot point. It's the clue that unlocks the town's real business, a massive prescription pill drug ring.
So he starts quietly connecting the dots. He looks at all these local accidents and murders that have been, swept under the rug.
First up is the murder of Debbie Randolph, who was Willie's fiancée. Her death was ruled a suicide by shotgun.
But the local sheriff, a guy named Tyree, he privately admits to Stone that he knows she was murdered. Her arms were physically too short to have pulled the trigger herself.
And Stone theorizes that Debbie was killed because she witnessed another murder, the murder of an accountant named Rory Peterson, who was running the town's investment fund.
And Peterson was killed right near where Debbie worked at the local bakery.
The pieces are starting to fit. Money, murder, and a high-level cover-up.
So the investigation leads Stone, and eventually Annabelle, who arrives in town tracking Knox, to the courthouse.
And it's the courthouse clerk, Shirley Coombs, who is Willie's mother, who gives them the final piece of the puzzle.
She reveals the whole system. Legal documents get shipped to the courthouse, but the manifest never matches the delivery. Heavy boxes of illegal prescription pills, probably fentanyl or oxycodone, are being diverted before they ever get logged.
And that explains the town's weird prosperity. They're laundering all the drug money through that same town investment fund that Rory Peterson was looking into.
And the distribution network is just horrifyingly simple and predatory.
The pills are funneled through the local addicted coal miners. These men pick up their supply, maybe as payment, at the old Riker barn,
which has this telltale blackened, worn grass from all the coal truck tires.
Before they go to their morning methadone clinic visit. It's this captive, profitable, and completely expendable workforce for the drug ring.
It's a closed system of corruption built on addiction and control.
Yeah.
And the leaders of this ring aren't just local thugs, they're the authorities.
Right. Judge Dwight Mosley, who flees when they get too close, and the main figure, Howard W. Tyree.
Now, we need to be really clear about the Tyree brothers, because it's critical for you to understand the climax.
Okay, so Howard W. Tyree is the sheriff of Devine. That gives him local law enforcement protection, but he is also the warden of the Dead Rock Supermax prison.
That dual role gives him absolute control. He controls the local crime and the perfect isolated facility to run it all from.
But the conspiracy turns violent. Once Willie Coombs starts asking questions about Debbie's death, he and his grandfather Bob are killed in a trailer explosion.
And after Shirley Coombs talks to Annabelle, she's killed in a staged car accident, which Sheriff Tyree just cynically rules a DUI. The stakes for Stone and the Camel Club are now life and death. They're not just fighting the CIA anymore.
So this all converges, and it's brutal, and it's fast. Stone and Knox, the hunter and the hunted, are ambushed, captured, and taken to Dead Rock.
The maximum security prison. And it's built over an old sealed coal mine, which is just a devastatingly appropriate detail.
It's the literal grave of 28 miners, including Shirley Coombs' father. The name Dead Rock becomes very, very literal.
The processing they go through in there, it's designed to just destroy them, to strum away every piece of their identity.
Stone is booked as Anthony Butcher, triple murderer. Knox is booked as an armed robber and murderer. They're made into non-persons in the system.
They get cavity searches, their heads are shaved, they're hosed down with fire hoses. Just continuous abuse. Tasers, 5-point restraints, all under the direct authority of Warden Howard W. Tyree.
The drug kingpin.
The drug kingpin. And then the real villain shows up to gloat.
Macklin Hayes arrives in a helicopter, this dramatic, almost theatrical assertion of federal power. And the first thing he does is destroy Warden Tyree's Cadillac with a cannon round.
Just to show everyone who's really in charge.
Yeah. Then he confronts Knox and Stone, and his arrogance is just... it's boundless. He reveals he didn't track Knox with some brilliant tactical move. He just listened in on a secure call Knox made. He knew Knox was investigating him.
And he dismisses this entire local drug operation, which has cost so many lives, as just a hemorrhoid on the body of federal affairs.
He's there for one reason: to get Stone's truth and to settle his personal score.
In this moment of just pure decades-old malice, he pulls out the last piece of physical evidence of John Carr's old life, the Medal of Honor paperwork he stalled all those years ago.
And he burns it right in front of them. It's an act meant to symbolize the complete erasure of John Carr. He's proving that he always owned him.
And then Hayes just leaves them. He leaves Stone and Knox to die in this brutal prison, believing he's eliminated every single threat.
But he's too arrogant. He doesn't realize he's just created two new enemies who have absolutely nothing left to lose. And thankfully, the cavalry's on its way.
The Camel Club. And they're operating with incredible speed and deductive reasoning.
Caleb, the librarian, he cracks this literary clue Stone left. The quote, "bottom turned into an ass from A Midsummer Night's Dream."
Which immediately links them to Abby Riker's farm. They realize it's the center of the whole conspiracy.
And Annabelle synthesizes all the information. The courthouse boxes, the barn, the corrupt police. And she correctly deduces the operational flaw in the drug ring.
The drugs aren't going out the front gate.
Exactly. They're being shipped out of Dead Rock through a non-standard route. The old parallel mine rescue shaft, which Warden Tyree kept open for his business.
The warden's greed created the very vulnerability they needed to exploit.
So they set up the final confrontation. They find Sheriff Tyree Howard's brother, and they convince him to help them. He's the honest, local lawman caught in the middle.
They stage a distraction at the front gate, and the sheriff leads them to the mine area where the execution is about to happen.
Warden Tyree's there, waiting at the shaft exit. He's about to execute Stone, Knox, and Abby Riker, who he's taken as a hostage. But just as he's about to fire,
Eddie Riker appears. He escaped from the hospital, determined to get revenge for his friend Willie.
in this tragic, desperate act of local justice, Danny Riker shoots and kills Warden Tyree with a rifle. And then he collapses and dies from his own wounds.
But his act ensures that Stone, Knox, and Abby all survive.
The Camel Club arrives. Knox uses a hidden knife to cut their cuffs. They survive the ambush from the remaining guards. But the ultimate justice, the justice for Hayes, is delivered by Knox's foresight.
The parallel investigation.
Yes. Knox reveals his tactical genius. He had planted a hidden camera in the interrogation room at Dead Rock. It recorded Hayes's entire monologue.
The confession of war crimes, the cover-ups, the details about 666, everything.
Everything. Hayes is arrested on a whole litany of charges. His untouchable status is finally broken by his own arrogance.
So, with the immediate threats gone, the local corruption decapitated, and Macklin Hayes under arrest, Stone is finally free to complete his mission.
With help from Knox and Alex, he goes back to Milton Farb's grave, and he retrieves that box. The truth he's carried all this way.
And that box contains everything. The complete explosive truth about the assassinations and this 30-year span of government corruption.
It's the evidence of systemic rot that reaches into the highest levels of power.
Which leads to the final moment of reckoning. Stone, Knox, and Alex get a meeting with the President of the United States.
In the Oval Office. And Stone, the man who is John Carr, delivers the box and he gives his confession.
He justifies the murders of Gray and Simpson. He calls it righting a wrong that was outside the law's reach. A final act of justice for his family and for Milton.
And the president is now faced with this political bomb. A document that confirms black ops assassination units, war crimes, decades of cover-ups involving his predecessors.
If he exposes this, it won't just be a scandal. It could destabilize the country's entire national security apparatus.
So he thanks Stone for the truth. He recognizes the weight of it all. But then comes the unavoidable institutional response.
He tells his counsel to take the matter under advisement for a long term.
He even says it will be such a long term that he might completely forget all about it. It's a calculated decision. The scandal has to be buried to protect the institution.
Even a false integrity is better than risking a national collapse by exposing 30 years of criminality.
And his verdict on Oliver Stone.
He lets him walk. The President of the United States lets a known double murderer, a master assassin, go free, because the truth he held was far more dangerous for the system than the man himself.
So Stone returns to his cottage at Mount Zion Cemetery. The physical fight is over, but the internal one, that's still there.
He looks at the photo of his wife, Claire, and his daughter, Beth, the daughter who grew up and died without ever knowing he was her father. The cost of that betrayal was just absolute.
And he finds a kind of peace, not in the violence of Oliver Stone, but in the memory of John Carr, the soldier, the husband, the father. Our sources say that it's the memory of them that serves as a cleansing force, allowing him to finally move on.
Scarred but free from the need for vengeance.
But the central conflict, it's never resolved by the law. Stone got his personal justice, but institutional justice was denied at the highest level. Hashtag tagged, hashtag outro.
The story of Oliver Stone, of John Carr, it's just an astounding journey when you step back and look at it. It starts with this desperate escape from a cliff in a thunderstorm.
And it ends with the complete dismantling of a massive, multi-layered drug and corruption ring that was rooted deep in a small town and a supermax prison.
And you really saw two powerful forces collide in this whole story. On one hand, you have the unconditional loyalty of the Camel Club, who risked everything for their friends.
And that stands in such sharp contrast to the profound institutional betrayal of Hayes, Simpson, and the 666 Division, who betrayed one of their own soldiers. Stone walked this very murky line between justice and vengeance.
He ultimately achieved a kind of moral equilibrium, but it was completely outside any legal framework.
So the question we're left with, for you to consider, is, was it justified? Given the depth of the corruption he exposed and the fact that the system completely failed, was his act of extra-legal vengeance the right thing to do?
Or was the president's choice to bury the scandal and let Stone walk free just the final necessary act of another institutional cover-up, protecting the powerful instead of delivering real justice?
And you have to consider the scale of what was at stake here, all the layers of corruption, the drug ring, the murders, Hayes's war crimes, the 666 Division. We know that during his parallel investigation, Knox found evidence of a billion-dollar underground CIA facility near Charlottesville.
Right.
So given that level of secret infrastructure, that level of institutional malice, what deeper, unknown government activities might John Carr's ultimate silence be protecting? What else is buried under that earth? And what shocking secrets did Stone carry that even the president knew the nation could never afford to see the light of day? That's the thought we'll leave you with.